Okay, guys, here we are. We see a lot of predictions in chat. A lot of people still rooting for Polt, and I don't blame you, but Zeph, I gotta change the score, so start us off.
In the bottom left-hand corner, he's done very well so far. Can he continue his rampage today? It is the Blue Terran Revenge.
And it felt so weird not giving Polt a +1 next to his name after the first game. I still can't believe, like, motor memory almost made me give him the +1. But guys, in the top right, currently down 1 in this best of 5, it is the Red Terran, CMStorm.Polt. It's really cool. I really like that we expect Polt in the finals. That's without question. They're like, oh, it's ZOTAC North American Cup. Oh, Polt actually checked in. We're going to see Polt in the finals. I'm really glad we could see an up-and-coming, sort of, how do I phrase this? I don't want to call him a nobody. He's not, but an irregular, I guess, make it to the finals. Because you see the same names over and over and over again, but Revenge is not one of those names. And for him to not just get to the finals, but start their series off 1-0, Zeph, if nothing else, that's going to be a huge confidence booster.
Certainly. I mean, I've never even seen Revenge before. I haven't heard of him before today, so this is an absolutely sick showing. And even if he does end up succumbing to the might of Polt, he's already made his mark. He's made an impression. And I'll definitely be looking out for this guy in future. So I suppose all that's left for us to do is to really wait and just see what happens in this next game, because that first one was pretty exciting, pretty intense.
Now, this was a gas first. I'm really curious. There's a couple of builds this leads to, but one of the ones that's become more popular are when you go for the double gas with Banshees. The Cloak Banshees, of course, getting a huge buff in upcoming patches, but they're still pretty good right now.
Yeah.
Throw down that factory immediately, I imagine.
Mm-hmm. Waiting for it, chasing around these SUVs.
I think because the SUV is here, went for the orbital first. Normally you delay the orbital ever so slightly, but there we go. Now this could be for fast Hellions, and that does work well versus Terran, but as we see, Polt last game as well as this game, throwing up the supply depots at the top of the ramp. Hellions will not be able to sneak in here, so I would love for this to... no second gas. This is probably not going to be anything too insane then. I was really hoping it was going to be one of several things, one of those things either being Thors or Banshees, but... oh, okay, the second gas now coming underway. So it could still very well be Banshees. Hellbats as well. Definitely more likely than not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's for sure. Hey, being a Polt expert, does he tend to go Hellbat drops himself?
No, that's the thing that's so great about Polt.
Yeah.
I mean, he wins TVTs without going for the... It's like watching players win ZVZ without Mutalisk before the Spore Crawler patches. Like, that's Polt in TVT.
Yeah. I mean, that's the sick thing, because, I mean, we've already seen from Revenge that he can win without the Hellbats. Like, yeah, same build again from the last time we saw him.
But I think this time's going to be Banshees. I mean, he's got the Tech Lab coming up instead of the reactor, so that could change everything. If Polt's expecting Hellbat drops, I mean, he'll have defenses in the mineral line. He'll be expecting the Banshee, but will he have the energy to scan is the big question.
I mean, his opponent didn't last time, so I think Polt, hopefully, given his experience in all these games, that he no doubt plays in practice, he will kind of know what's up and be able to deal with it accordingly.
Yeah, well, there's that Cloak coming up right away.
Yeah.
Now, the reason Cloak is getting a huge buff, guys, is the fact that it's too expensive. The timing of this hitting is so much later, you can't really afford too much to go with it. So the problem is, when the Banshee gets across the field, if Polt had done any sort of, like, Reaper harass at this point, that would have shut Revenge down. Just completely and entirely. He scans this. He sees the Tech Lab too. Some players will actually cancel this and just go Cloakless Banshees once they're kind of found out, but Polt's throwing down the Engineering Bay. He's not going to have any problems dealing with this. This will be annoying at best.
Yeah, perfect scan there from Polt. So he should be very well prepared for this. He will have, I mean, he already has the command center out, so he'll have a nice amount of workers too. Already got the worker lead, of course, and then he'll be able to drop that in the natural once he's dealt with the Banshee threat. Because, of course, it's always easy to kind of deal with those Banshees on one base before you go to two. But he has a Widow Mine out now and already building the turret, so he should be nicely prepared for that. And he's set himself up for a longer game.
This is really not going to work well here for Revenge. It was a great idea, but getting that scan off was like the money scan. Like, there couldn't have been a better scan in the game. The timing of it was perfect too. Of course, you got to cut a mule to do that, but that's okay because cutting that mule, going for that scan, just pretty much not one Polt the game, but won him this early game. But where are those Marines? They're actually down here at the natural. Polt taking a couple losses. Might lose the supply depot, but here comes the Viking.
Yep. Will the scan go down? He's waiting for it. He's hovering around that bench. He does not want it to get away.
I think he wants to guarantee the kill. That's why the Marines are coming in first. So
there we go.
Worst thing is scanning and then not getting the kill. There we go. Banshee gonna pop so quickly. But the second Banshee now on the way. There's a turret down here with a Widow Mine in the natural, so there's not a lot of dancing that can go on.
Yep. And there's that second Banshee. Indeed, is it in range of the tower? It should be now. And he's gonna take some serious hits. Will he be able to get away?
Doesn't even have to burn a scan. They're so nicely done. Second Viking coming out with the turret range. Oh, if he gets any closer, like I think about here where my mouse is detection range. Alright, just pops the scan, says forget it. Not worth it. I mean, we look at this. Oh, sorry, continue.
No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, Revenge expanded behind this. This wasn't an all-in build. This wasn't 2-port Banshee. This wasn't anything crazy. His harass did not pay off. It was a bad investment to keep the cloak, I feel. And he's gonna be a little bit behind. But Polt didn't exactly pump out 9 factories while that was going on. We don't have 11 barracks on the field. He also just expanded, and he spent a lot of resources getting turrets up, blowing scans. So, Polt will definitely in a good position. Isn't exactly like, I win the game, GG, game 3, let's see it.
Yeah, I think the cool thing for Polt in this position though is that he's been producing Vikings since a lot earlier. Like he already has 2 out, and like we saw in the last game, although he did end up losing because of the Hellbat issue, he had those Vikings out, and it took Revenge a moment to be able to get that Viking count out to contend with it.
And the tank is an expensive thing he cannot afford to lose. We see Polt rushing back to drop Marines just to be able to pick off the Banshee. Another scan burned, so it's another 270 minerals, not lost, but not gained. And Polt looks like he wants to push, and this is like a, I don't know, this is a Brood War drop. We got a tank with Marines. You don't see tank drops really ever anymore.
Oh wow, nice scouting by Revenge. He seems to have a 6th sense, swoops towards the medevac of Polt, and then heads over to the base. He somehow knew it was still coming through that path, and now Polt is going to actually change the path of his medevac. Real smart here.
If he drops to the natural, he's going to have a tank to deal with, though, and the tank range does cover everything except just barely behind the mineral lines, so Polt does have that blind spot he can get into. People say map hacks. Get out of here. It's very obvious what Polt was doing. A diamond level player could have seen.
Yeah, I mean, he saw it with the first Banshee. He saw him load up and then have to drop the units out, so it's kind of the most obvious spot for him to go. But there is the siege tank ready, and is that a position? Yes, Polt can just squeeze in there and be safe from the siege tank fire, but not for long.
He's got to pick up, Zeph. And he just gets out of there. Now, can you imagine if you could drop on this ledge? How painful would that be, dropping a tank up there, sniping off everything at the natural?
Gosh. Don't even talk about it. That would be hideous. That would really suck. Polt, worth noting, he is actually ahead on upgrades, getting that +1 already.
Ooh, bio upgrades are insanely big deal when it comes to TVT. A lot of matchups, you're like, oh, I'm down by, +1. That's not that big of a deal. I've got the numbers. It doesn't work that way in TVT. Oh, and another Cloak Banshee. This is a lot of resources lost, because, I mean, Revenge isn't just dumping minerals. He's trying to... Ooh, wow. How did it... What? Talk about wizardry! Somehow the Banshee destroyed it.
Man.
I guess that must have been because it ran out of range of detection, but still, the missile should have hit it and finished it, I feel. But either way, that's a really nice for Revenge. We'll keep him in this. Force another scan, maybe pick up an SCV here if he wants to pay more attention, but...
Really annoying for Polt too, especially considering he didn't build a turret here or anything before he dropped that. Didn't think that the Banshees would still be coming, and a huge push coming out for Revenge at the same time. Polt supply blocked even after losing that 1 supply depot. That's
actually really cool. Polt sacrificing a Marine for scouting. It's a lot cheaper than a scan, and he doesn't lose his army. Now he knows Revenge is coming through the northern corridor. A couple more Marines going to be sent out here just to scout. And yeah, so Polt can start sieging up. Oh no, Zeph, Polt actually doesn't have that much on the field.
He really doesn't.
He's got tanks, he's got submarines, but the numbers are heavily in Revenge's favor.
Yeah, at least the tank counts the same, and he has the Vikings, which is really important because it means now, with that side advantage, he can at least outrange Revenge.
Oh, that's
because
so cool.
Revenge, he has double the amount of Marines of Polt, so double the buffer for his tanks.
Yeah, this is actually almost near that point where it doesn't matter how many tanks Polt has, because Revenge can just push into them. If you spread them out, have that nice hit. Marine denying the third base here for a little bit. Surface area can act like a circling. A little annoying, but I mean, Polt, okay, he doesn't have units, but you know what he does have? A ton of map control. Look at this. The sensor tower, he's got Marines positioned everywhere, Widow Mines as well.
Yeah. Real nice. And he may actually go for that third, and Revenge is quite out of position. He does have a unit spotting for this, though, and so he will be alerted to that. It looks like he's just going to go for it, though. It doesn't look like he's going to turn around at all.
Both players scanning like mad, trying to make sure there's no Widow Mines, and also check where their opponent's army is. Revenge actually going to skirt through the middle of the map and go for a drop, I feel. Oh no, actually I was hoping he'd come around and try and flank Polt, but instead going to push forward. What am I going to do? Some damage. A little annoying, but not a big deal. Polt taking out that third base, though. He didn't just deny it, he took it out. And now he's going to come back home.
This is scary, though, because Revenge can get in a position where he's sieging everything that's coming out of the natural.
Oh, he can siege the armory! Oh, that is such a big deal. The main ramp also open. Oh, Polt is in such a terrible position. He can get in position to defend this, but losing the armory, losing the factory, and this command center most likely going to go down as well.
Locked out of his own base right now. A command center forward, command center, the SCVs tearing desperately, but they're all going down.
The Polt pushing into this now with the up. Actually, doesn't have the upgrade advantage. It is 1-1 at this point. But Polt losing a ton of SCVs.
Yeah, he's killed an engineering bay and the armory so far. Polt will have to rebuild those. At the very least, he has his +2 armor still coming along, but he lost a lot of SCVs. He lost 28.
Yeah, really not looking good. I mean, he invested so much in not just his upgrades, but his third expansion to get ahead. So he's actually not that far behind on workers, but he is. Most of what he invested in is now gone.
Well, the big story is though that he maintained the count of 6 tanks, where his opponent lost all of them, and they have even amount of Marines too, give or take. So that's a real big story for Polt. He has that siege tank count, whereas his opponent has now lost that. He's going to have to do something else. You
know, there's a lot of TVT stuff that boil down to the fact that if one player had one Viking on the field, they would have won that game just due to the siege wars. And Polt has 2. So that could come into play quite heavily. And, oh, Revenge actually being the one to lag out.
Oh, good, it's not me. Thank goodness.
I was about to say Scumbag Zeph, but then I saw blue.
Oh, the Marines just spot those drops going into the natural, but did Polt spot it? I don't think
he's got Vikings. Look where the Vikings are AFK, though. Oh, Zeph, that could have been better for him. He didn't move those to position. They were just already there.
Yeah. And he's still dropping out those Marines. Polt going to head down there and try and deal with that now. And Polt also holding on to a third base, got that natural command center established. He's actually in a really good position. It looked a lot worse than it was with Revenge getting stuck in the middle there, because Polt surrounded him, crushed him, and came out on top in bases and army. And it looks like the only thing he really lost was a few SCVs. Well, not a few, 28. And his upgrades.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. The 28 SCVs he lost, those were fine to lose only because that's what he sacrificed his army value for to get. He pumped out so much economy. He had that third base up like a million times faster than for Revenge. So his upgrades and everything else, like, it kind of became a bit of a wash when you think about it.
Yeah. A couple of Thors even being mixed in for Revenge now, adding a bit of beef to his army, but Polt, he is coming for an attack. He is 180 supply over 150.
A bit of lag, obviously probably still going on for Revenge, but I want to point out too, Thor's now in production. Now Thors don't do a great job at doing much, but in their high impact payload mode, they snipe off medevacs and they snipe off Vikings very quickly. So having a couple of these on the field, not to mention they're kind of tank killers.
Yeah, they sure are. They chunk those siege tanks actually.
Yeah, it's like 60 damage a shot because they shoot twice or something. It's absurd, but the sad thing is they are susceptible to Marines, and both players do have a ton of Marines. We check the upgrades now. It's 2 armor, 1 upgrade for weapons for Polt, and unfortunately the reverse opposite for Revenge. Polt loses that engineering bay and the armory. You know what the worst part about losing the armory? He didn't really care about the tech upgrades, but he was unable to continue on to the +3 for that small window while he had to reconstruct it in the main.
True.
And I'll give a shout. You know, we're on a pause here, guys. Moxie, LOL, Bilson98, Nimlot, Farty McButt. That's an excellent name. No Roar, of course, Jazz being the bot here for our chat. Wise Pigeon, Dothead, Partoof, and a lot of others in chat with us today. I hope you're enjoying these finals. Thank you so much for tuning to BaseTradeTV. Like we said before, you guys help make the channel what it is. It's one thing to be a broadcaster, it's another to have the best damn chat on Twitch.
We have some problems.
Yeah, I don't know what they're saying is the problem.
My
But
Korean, unfortunately, isn't that good. I can't. I can only understand a little bit, and it's not useful enough.
all right, because I guess these guys want some shoutouts too. Fleetwood, no behind you. Lots of others just tuning in. We'll give you guys some better shoutouts later. It is a pause screen. Go, 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 go is called. But you know what? We do have the option to resume from replay in a worst case scenario. Or
Yeah,
not resume, but recover. Because resume, of
that's it.
course, reveals build orders and all that. But
Oh, shout out to Matt J. He's one of my favorites.
I would shout out to Fezza, but I'm so nervous with him being around here. It's like, yo, how do I obs? I forget how to obs.
You're a caster, you have an excuse. No one can be pro like Infesta.
I know, like
Infesta.
I gotta do like the locations. Like that's the one thing I'm trying to work on, but I can never remember to do.
Yeah.
But okay, we got
Okay.
double scans going down. Both players know pretty much exactly what's here. I mean, there's not a lot hidden at this point. And oh man, these tanks.
Yeah.
Polt has
coming
so
in.
many, and it's just one for revenge, and it's gonna get taken out here right away back. But here's that Thor we were talking about. Where's that damage? Nope, GG. Don't forget that.
Just it. Very nice. He ties it up 1-1 in this best of 5 series. And we'll soon find out what the third map is.